where did Candace Maxwell grow up?
Oh, fun story. So I'm from Queens, New York, from St. Albans, which is like a little past Jamaica, Queens. So if you know 50 Cent, if you know Nicki Minaj, you know Candace Maxwell, right down the street in St. Albans. So like a kind of a suburb, but also kind of like a little rough. It's like a very interesting area. It's like on the cusp of like suburban and like suburban hood, if that makes any sense.
I like
But
that. I like
yeah,
suburban hood.
so I
I
would say
love that.
I'm suburban hood. Like I know how to be like, hey, how are you? And then I know how to be like, girl, stop. So suburban hood from Queens. Yeah. And my mom's from Jamaica, my dad's from Trinidad. So they're like super simple island people who are just like, let's get to America and let's the American dream that we were all sold. They were sold that, and they came here and they're like, life, get this education, get to work, and we gonna do it, So that's really simple, really humble upbringing.
Yeah, and then being in Jamaica and having West Indian parents, like it's a lot of culture in Queens when it comes to the West Indian and like, Trinidadians. I mean, they're between Queens and Brooklyn. But there's a lot of culture in New York. Was that embracing for you, knowing that there's so many other people that have the same backgrounds?
Growing up, you don't realize it. You're like, oh, whatever. You're just in the neighborhood, and I'm in a predominantly Caribbean neighborhood. I didn't really know any different. But when I moved outside of Queens, I moved to Atlanta when I was around 12 with my mom and my sister. When we moved here, that's when I realized, I was like, wow, I was in a really special place. Like I grew up like going to block parties, with my family and going to Brooklyn and eating the food and the culture. And that's all I knew. So when I came to Atlanta, it was a completely different world, especially back around when we moved here. Atlanta was booming, but it was just on the come up. It wasn't what it was. And to come from such a cultural background with the music and the culture. And then the South has amazing culture as well, but it was just different than what I was used to and what I grew up around. So those days in New York, like the early 90s, 2000, that's so special. Like, I don't think New York will ever get that back, but I grew up going to block parties, which is like crazy to say looking back, but I'm like, I was dancing to like reggae music at like 6.
Right. And meanwhile, it's like 11:30 at night and you're good. Like you're safe. You're cool.
It's a part of the culture, honestly,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, New York will never be the same. It will never hit 90s again.
Special time.
It's gone. But we love it. We love the city. So when you get to Atlanta, of course, you're still at a young enough age. It's not too much culture shock, but it's still enough of a shock. How do you adjust? How do you blend back into a social norm?
Being able that's also a really wonderful question. Coming from New York, like being able to walk and the deli and the subway and the freedom that I had, you come to a place like the suburbs of Atlanta. Now I was suburban hood in New York, and then I'm like suburban country in Georgia. So I think for me, it was a lot of moving around, a lot of adjusting to different people. And I think that's almost a part of where the acting side of me comes in, because I feel like I've always had to be a chameleon, and I've had to adapt to different people in different environments my whole life. Even just going from Jamaica, Queens to Manhattan, that's a different journey, and you're culturally around all different races and stuff. So when I came down to the South and went to a predominantly white school with a lot of targeted racism, which at the time I didn't even realize I was experiencing. They were like, well, why do you talk like that? Why do you look like that? Why, what are those? They didn't know what Timbs were. They were like, what are those? Like all the white girls, which again, nothing is wrong, but they didn't know. And I felt like a fish out of water when I got here. So I'm thankful that I have the arts. Honestly, the arts have saved me my entire life. Like I went to performing arts school and people didn't know me. I was like a nerd, but then we did this big dance performance towards the end of my freshman year. I was put in a special dance piece. And when we performed that and it was done, all the seniors were running up to me like, "You're so good. No, you have to audition for company." Like they were blowing smoke out my butt. And it was like, I was like, wow. That was something clicked for me. I was like, your talent can really bring you far and people will recognize you and acknowledge you for your talent. And I think that just gave me this oomph and this drive because I went from being an outcast fly on the wall to then being like the girl everybody wanted to talk to in school, which is crazy to me, all because of some dance performance. So that lit a fire under my butt. I was like, I am going to be the best at what I do. And I was determined from a really young age.
Yeah. And it's crazy that we have these talents. And when you're in one region, the talent is just like, that's the norm. Like everyone does this. Mm-hmm. And then when you switch to another region, it's like, oh my God, you could do that. It's like, y'all don't like, of course. But it makes you feel like everything that you've done before makes sense now in this present moment. Ooh. So
Rashawn, I didn't know you was going to be getting deep this afternoon. I didn't know.
You know, that's what happens when you go to the gym early in the morning. Just you balance a little differently. But it's crazy. Now, when I moved to Atlanta, this is my 4th year. It'll be 4 years in July. And my friends, I'd be like, I need to get some Timbs. They're like, those are New York boots and you're in Georgia. And it's like, no, these are universal. You don't understand. Like, these go with everything.
Correct. Oh my God. So you're from New York too?
I'm from Pennsylvania.
Okay. But you're northeast. Yeah. Welcome.
So, Atlanta has been amazing. I will say I love the city. I miss aspects of New York. But what I love about being here is that you can have a work-life balance. And I feel like New York doesn't really give you that. You're always on go. So by the time you start to like settle down and start like enjoying the city, you realize like I've been here for 6 years and I've never seen this area before. So New York will get you. It'll suck you into that work life.
I agree. I mean, that's why I'm not there anymore. I just visited and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm not that I can't. Let me not say that. I don't want to do this anymore.
No. Once you get like a taste of like a balance where you can work and go hard during the day and like 6 o'clock comes, you can go and relax and chill out. You don't got to work 3 jobs to pay rent. Like it's just, it's different. It's different.
Yes, agreed.
I'll get off of that now. So you are excelling in high school. When do you realize that this is now going to be a life career for you?
Ooh, okay. So that I knew from young, that was it. Like I remember vividly, like young, watching, I was always watching like the divas, so like Mariah and like the Spice Girls and those, like I was just like, they just had such, all these people were like the Brandies, the Mayas. I would watch the videos, I would record the videos from MTV and then play them back and learn the steps. So my mom put me in ballet, but I always wanted to do I wanted to get the, the groove. Like I had that little natural groove in me from the jump. So I was always recording these grown women dancing on TV and copying them. And my mom was like, what is she in there doing? But I was slaying it. I was always performing. I knew from young, I was like, that is what I want to do. That's it. That. And I had a family friend in the neighborhood who was an agent. And she said to my mom, I used to play with her daughter. She's like, well, Candace is beautiful. Why don't you get her in something? She can make money. You can put this towards her college fund. Because my mom is all about college. She's Jamaican. Education is number one. So she was, and money. Oh, Jamaicans, we love money. And we will work 5 jobs. So I'm just being honest, Rashad. So my mom was like, okay, money. She's young. We're going to get her working. We're going to put this for her college fund. Fabulous. it was like, I was like college. I was like, this is what I'm doing. So it was meant to be. I just think God made that a part of my life from early because he knew.
Now, when that happens, because I have some Trinidadian and some Jamaican friends, and they'll tell you, like, arts and being creative is not a part of this culture. Like, you go get a job. Like, you get an education, you get a job, and you find a way to support your family. Like, we're not feeling this whole dancing, acting, singing thing. It don't work. How do you navigate that with chasing your dreams and not trying to disappoint your parents at the same time?
Yeah, that was a huge battle that, my dad, my mom raised me. My dad was in my life, but my mom raised me. So he was always, even from a young age, he was like, you can do whatever you want to do. And I think that comes from him not following his dreams. And he told me from young, like, everybody would have their opinions. And he'd be like, Candace, focus on what you love. Just do that. Just do that. That's the one thing I'll always take from my father. That was our very special thing. But my mom was the disciplinarian and the one who was like, she was about it as a hobby, but she was not feeling it when it came to college and me not wanting to do that. And there was a huge rift between us, and we stopped talking for a while. She cut me off. And again, it just brings me back to the place of how determined I was. Like, little 18, I was like 18, I went to college, like 20-year-old me moved back to New York. I like moved in with my grandmothers, went back to Queens, was going to Manhattan to audition. And I was like, I got to do this for myself. So, I had done everything right my whole life. I felt like I listened to mom. I did everything she asked me to do. I got straight A's. And this one thing you didn't back me up on it. So I had some audacity and I was rebellious, and it paid off. And, it became, I can't please you. I have to please myself, which for a young woman, I don't know where I got those balls from.
And that's the thing. It's like when you get to that point and you're in a rift with your parents over chasing your dreams, it's like, I can't fail because I'm risking too much. Like, I'm putting a lot of weight on this relationship. I got to make it. Like, this has to work.
Yeah.
So you go back to New York. You start dancing for the Knicks.
New York. Yes. Oh my God. Okay. You knew that. I'm like, how'd you know? That was the first. So that was the first job I got in New York City. Like, and I mean, within months of moving there. I moved there to do this program with Rhapsody James, who was helping young dancers kind of form themselves and meet agents or whatnot. And I got an agent like immediately. But I had went to the New York Knicks audition. It was an open call. I did not think I was going to make it at the time. Young, green, like 20 years old. And I'm like, oh my God, New York City, Madison Square Garden. Who are these beautiful girls? Like, and at the time I was like, you got to be hot and sexy and skinny. And I didn't feel any of those things at that age. Like, I'm an awkward, young woman figuring it out. Like, these kids today are like much more grown and sexy and fierce than I ever could have been at that time. But I went to that audition and I decided, let me have fun with this. There's no way I'm going to get this job, which is terrible, but that's what my mindset was. So I was like, I'm going to have fun. Next thing you know, they're like, okay, next round. They kept calling my number. And the closer and closer I got, because you audition for like a week and they make cut after cut after cut. And by like that 6th day, I was like, I wanted it.
So this was fun in the beginning, but now I wanted it. Like, now I want this because you're bringing me way too close to winning.
Yeah. And I didn't realize that, that internal me, I'm not going to get it, was the fact that I just really wanted it. And I got it. And it was my first job in New York City was dancing at Madison Square Garden for the New York Knicks, in front of Spike Lee, in front of Jay-Z and Beyonce. What a dream come true. And I didn't even...
A big deal.
Yeah.
A big deal. And it's funny that you say that, because a lot of times when we're afraid we're not going to get something, we say it doesn't matter. And that's like it's a coping mechanism with, I might not get what I really want. So if I don't, it's cool. I don't really want it, but you want it.
Yeah.
And then when you realize you really want it, it's like, okay, I want this. And if I don't get it, it's going to be a problem.
It's going to hurt my heart.
It's going to be a problem. So you start dancing with the Knicks, and then you say you started doing backup dancing.
Yes. That was great too.
So life literally, when this is happening, because now you're able to like make a living for yourself, and you're in this light that hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people want to be in. People want to be on stage with a Beyonce or a Nicki or a Puffy. Like, they want to be there. You're there. At what point in your career, in this early stage, do you start to get back to mending your relationship with your mom? Like, does she see that like you're actually serious about this and this is working for you?
Yeah, I think within like 2 years, she started to see like, okay, Candace is really serious about this. And there was even one point when I like moved to Los Angeles. So my mom saw this tenacity in me, and she saw it working. And then we came back together and like rekindled it, our relationship. But even then there was a lot of growing pains. And I think that through therapy for me, which was major, and Jamaicans, but Black people in general, like now everybody's going to therapy, but I was really trying to do that stuff when it was taboo, when it was something that we didn't do. And to this day, I'm still the only person in my family who has went to therapy. I'm not right now. I want to go back, but actively does that kind of work. So there was, conflict there between us, and that's something that we're still working on. But I actually got my mom to go to some sessions with me, and we did some family counseling together, and that changed a lot for us. And it's still a journey, but we have really mended our bond. And I think it's because she finally was able to see through me that this is who this young woman is, and it's who she's always been. Like, I haven't changed who I am. I've loved this since day one. And then, my younger sister is also an actress as well. She went to the same school that I went to in Manhattan, and seeing my mom's journey with her and how lenient she is on her, I am
like, woman, you got real soft. I don't know what happened. But that is not the way you. Okay, I see how it is. So
it's crazy how time and the effort and all that can help, and therapy and self-realization and self-actualization. Which I didn't know what any of that meant when I was on that journey, but I knew that I had to fix something. And these generational curses that all of us have in our families, and how do we break them and move forward? And I wanted to be that person. Like, my mom came from her country here to create a better life. And I was literally like, how do I actually create a better life for us? And for me, it started with the mental. And I knew it started with up here, and that I had to shift something. So that was really important.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing in a cloudy moment is that your situation and your struggle with getting into the industry and navigating that with your mom made your sister's journey easier, because it opened your mom's eyes up to, okay, let these kids go after their passion. It can actually be successful. So you made it easier for your sister.
Yeah.
So it's the good things.
Yeah.
All right. So you hit Broadway. Big deal. How old were you at that point? Like,
oh my God. I keep looking back at this stuff like this is really my life. I think I was 23 or 24 when I did Broadway.
Okay.
I
know.
So
Broadway. You get Broadway. Huge deal. And then you go from that, and then you start booking more. You start working your craft.
Yeah. So Broadway was like the floodgates that opened. I was like, I want to get back into acting. I was like, because I was a swing on Broadway. So the swing is kind of like the bottom of the barrel, but the bottom of the barrel, but very necessary and taught me so much, because the swing is responsible for knowing all the tracks. So, I have to know 5 girls. I'm responsible for 5 girls' tracks, all their choreography, all of their blocking, all of their songs. At the drop of a dime, somebody gets hurt, somebody calls out sick, somebody's doing another job. I have to hop in and do it for them with little to no rehearsal, but just from observing and taking notes and being meticulous. So that I got to perform on stage, and that was again a dream come true. But at the time, I didn't realize how that was preparing me, like you said, for my future, and how everything just leads up. But I saw those leads and I was like, I can do that, and I want to do that. And how do I do that? So I just decided to continue to kind of step away from dancing. It was a few years later, but I stepped away from dancing and went back to acting school to train, because I saw those actors on Broadway and they are just like, they were phenomenal. Miss Tanya Pinkins, who is a Tony winner. I saw Christopher Jackson, who was in Hamilton and who was in As You Like It. I was so inspired by them and knew that I wanted to dedicate to the craft of acting the same way I was such a dedicated and trained dancer. So it was important to me to train and to not just immediately jump into auditioning.
Yeah. People think Broadway is like a glamorous life. Like, Broadway is hell. Like, it's a lot of shows. It's a lot of singing. And even though you did like this show maybe 15 times this week, you can't mess up that 16th time. Like, correct. You still got to be on point because somebody paid $600 for a ticket. And if you ain't on point, we gonna talk about that girl right there who was horrible. And I spent $600 to see this. And it's like, that's that Broadway mentality. And people just are like, oh my God, you're on Broadway. It must be so beautiful.
Toughest job in the book. 8 shows a week. I commend everybody doing Broadway, still doing it. People who've been doing it for years. It is tough. It is tough. It's beautiful and it's very special. But what a hard job.
I don't want it. I'm
loving film and television.
I don't want it. No, thank you. Someone else can have that one. So, leave Broadway, film and television. And like, you land on TV, not on like, little things. Like, you land in like some big stuff. Like, Power alone, like, for anyone that like, I'm gonna do television. Okay, do Power. That series has become a cult classic instantly.
Ooh. Yeah.
And you're a part of that. Does it become addictive once that happens and it's like, I need more of this right now?
Power was so special. Like, again, a cult classic, a New York, like, it's so quintessential New York City, which I always wanted to be a part of something that represented New York in such a great way because I'm from there. That's my home. So for that to be the first show that I booked out of, I graduated acting school May of 2018. June. It was like summertime. We finished in June. I booked Power in October of that same year. And that was the first role I booked as Cassandra Haynes. And I do believe that role opened so many doors for me. So shout out to Courtney Kemp, the creator of that show, and to 50 Cent as well, the creator, writer 50 and Courtney. And like 50 came up and talked to me at the table read like, hey, Candace. And I'm like, hey, you gonna say hey to me? Okay. So I knew that I had some responsibility, and he told me, he said, this is your role, honey. So I knew, I had some responsibility and I had to bring it, and to be working opposite of Mr. Love Jones himself, Mr. Larenz Tate, who, is a wonderful actor. He's an actor. And, you know, somebody who's been in the business for a long time, I knew that I had to like step into it. So of course I wanted more. Like, I would love to come back to the Power universe and go play in that world. I hope they call me back and have me come play with them for a bit. I'd love to bring Cassandra back. But
I mean, because Power Book 2 is here, and you know, Larenz is back on the show. Rashad is causing hell and throughout New York.
Rashad is causing hell.
Like, the way that he flipped, I was like, dude, if this is politics, you are the best at it. Mm-hmm. But it's like you get used to that. And then again, like I recognized you and really paid attention to you on All the Queen's Men. Your role opposite Skyh. What was that series like for you? Like, because it's just there's so much that go into that show, and like speaking to everyone that worked on it thus far, there's a lot of understanding the male. Make sure I get this right because I am not trying to fight nobody. The male exotic dancing.
Yes,
industry.
You nailed it. Male exotic. Yes, that's it. It's male exotic.
Yeah. I said stripper and I was like, okay, my bad. But there's a lot that goes into it. And people think that it's just dancing. And there's a lot in that. How do you, one, go to the show, and what did you have to do to like develop your character to make it really be believable and authentic in that environment?
You know, especially when it comes, male exotic is so special because you're getting like entertainment. Like, I feel like male strip clubs are like, we gon' make it clap, wah, wah, wah. But it's a show, and these men are creating an experience for the women there. Dime is a part of that show, and you know, she's there to be the woman's best. She's there to the women who are coming to Club Eden. I'm there to be their best friend, their hype woman, their everything. I'm there to coach the guys on, and getting into that role and being authentic was just me being supportive, like support all those dancers and take care of this club and support Madam. So I feel like I do supportive roles really well. Like, there's something in me that just knows how to support a cast. And I pride myself on that, and playing, and I don't know, being in that world was fun and sexy. And like, I got to see Bolo perform. Like, he did a Bolo birthday experience. So I got to go and like see that and feel that world. And I was like, it's just gritty and sexy. And it's women just wanting to feel free.
Yeah.
And to get to embody that and to hype them up in the club, that energy that we got to create in the pandemic, which is crazy. We filmed it in the pandemic. I think so many of us, as not only actors, just as people, we were ready to get back to something. So what made All the Queen's Men so special was, especially watching it on TV as a viewer, when I sat to watch it, I was like, don't watch it as an actress, don't watch it as Candace, just watch it. I felt like I was in the club. Yeah. I felt like I was there. I felt like I was living it. And the show is a secret gem. I don't even think I think it's understated, and I can't wait for people to really check it out and tune in.
It's very understated. I watched episode 1 and I took a couple minutes and I called my mom. I was like, I don't want to tell you to watch this show, but you have to watch this show. Yeah. I was like, I don't want to have a conversation with you about the show. I don't want to talk to you about the dancers on the show. Like, I don't want that conversation with you because it's going to be awkward. But it's a really good show, and I want you to watch it.
It humanizes these men, and it humanizes Madam, and it humanizes Dime, and you see all these people living in this like alternate world, because that's, you know, we live in every day we're going to work, blah, 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 this really heightened world. But then you're like, oh, these are real people. Like Dime is my cousin, and Doc Bolo is the guy down the street, you know, like
right.
These are all regular people. And I think that's also what makes it relatable.
Yeah. And then bodies start showing up and people getting shot.
And then you're like, oh, that's not relatable. Whoa.
Oh my, like season finale, I was like, we're done. Mm-hmm. Throw the remote. I'm done. Like, I don't know what to do at this point. Okay. A Madea Homecoming. Mm-hmm. People have waited for a Madea movie for a very long time. When Tyler said he was going to retire Madea and he wasn't like putting on the outfit anymore, the fans were, some were crushed, some were pissed. Mm-hmm. You have that group of people that were happy. But he puts this out and like folks go crazy instantly because you've been waiting for this. How did you land in this project? What did it feel like for you to land in a Madea movie, especially something where it's like the resurrection of Madea?
I was blown away. I mean, I wrapped all the Queen's Men, and I'm back in LA. I'm on vacation with my family, my friends. It was just like, you know, pandemic time. I had to get out. I had to go do something. I was going crazy. And I get a phone call from the head of the studio at the time, wonderful woman. She's like, hey, Candace, have you seen, Medea's coming back, and we have this role of Ellie, and we would love to offer it to you. I'm like, are you available? Am I available? Am I, Candace Maxwell, who lives here in this little apartment, am I available to be a part of Medea's resurrection, her homecoming? Absolutely. Drop everything. I was astounded. I couldn't believe it. This is my first feature film. An offer from the studio. It's an honor. It is an absolute honor, and it was a pleasure. And I'm so happy that was where I made my mark. And my first feature film was a special offer, and that I got to be a part of this special universe. You know, like people, we have Marvel, we have Madea. You know,
that's literally, Madea is it's a cult classic. Like, just everything about that movement. One, especially living in Atlanta, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I tell everyone, like, driving past the studio, if there's nothing else in this city that inspires you, that studio is it. Because it's like you know that story, and then you drive past and be like, damn.
Yeah.
He did all that.
Yeah.
And if he did all that, like, there's reasons that you may not be able to do things, but you can't make an excuse of why you can't. Like, if you can create that, it's just about how bad you want it and doing the right things and staying true to yourself. And
10 toes down, especially when it gets tough, because it's going to get tough, whatever it is that you're doing in life. 10 toes down. And I think that's Tyler represents that, you know, truly. And betting on yourself and believing in yourself and having faith. Those things are, as cliche and corny as they sound, they're pillars.
Yeah.
They're pillars to success.
When the books dropped in front of you, when the book is dropped and they say, this is yours, what's the instant emotion?
Shit. I got so much work to do. I'm like, I mean, of course, I'm like, yay, I'm so excited. But I'm like, oh shit, I got a lot of work to do. I got to get all these lines. I've got to understand these characters. And it's fast. We are moving at a fast pace. I don't know if I can spill a special gem, but like, we filmed Madea Homecoming in 7 days.
Get the hell out of here.
7 days. Yeah. But to get to work with Tyler, who again, he dumps, you know, you get, boop, plop, this is your book. And there's constantly changes being made and additions being made. And, he said something really beautiful that, hey guys, this is your script. This is your outline. You understand these characters in this world, but take liberty over it. He's one of those directors and writers who gives you so much freedom, which you don't get anywhere else. So it is really special as an artist to have a director go, look, I hired you, so I trust you. So here, here.
Yeah.
That's what he does.
I never looked at it that way. I hired you and I trust you. So just bring it.
Bring it. The lines don't have to be perfect. They were improvising. I mean, bam, Cassie Davis, David Mann, Tamala Mann, and Tyler Perry, and then Brendan O'Carroll. Let's not forget Mr. Brendan O'Carroll, who played we got on Agnes and stuff. They were wild, but they were improvising. They are improv and comedy masters. And then you're working with all these new actors who are like, because we were watching a masterclass happen.
It's like,
they are phenomenal.
Where do I jump in and when do I say my line?
Oh my God, literally. I was like, wait, where do we go? Can I go now? I'm so sorry. It was
like,
wild.
I don't know what y'all are doing at this point. When do I say my line? Then you get mad.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute. When is it my turn?
Yeah, craziness.
Wow. 7 days. Okay. What's the biggest takeaway from that project? Because again, it's Tyler Perry's shows are acting boot camp. You have to take something from that.
Yeah, just to trust myself even more as an actress. I was nervous, of course. I'm like acting opposite Tyler as Medea and as Joe, these iconic characters. I was really nervous, but by day seven, I was in my groove.
Like, I'm in it now. Right.
Once the movie was done, I was in my groove. But I
just got comfortable.
I just got comfy. But he gave me, what I learned from that was to just have audacity and to go at it with a sense of fearlessness. And it's okay to make mistakes. You get one or two takes. So is it okay to not make mistakes? But when you go into it like afraid to make a mistake, it's going to look stiff. So just allow yourself that freedom. And Tyler, let me tell you something about Tyler. He said, we will fix it in post. So if you make a mistake, we're going to fix it in post anyway.
We'll figure it out.
So I got to have fun on that set. And that was really special. I got to have a good laugh. I needed that.
Yeah. And we had a good laugh watching it.
Yeah.
So my last thing, you do something that is remarkable. Atlanta is like the nation capital of sex trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
And you were very involved with working with girls who are victims of sex trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
How did that happen and why was that important for you?
Okay, so that happened. Funny enough, I was on a trip. God, when was this? A few years ago. I was in upstate New York with some friends. I went to a wedding. We were taking buses back and forth from the city to where the wedding was upstate. And I met this group of young girls. I saw them. I'm waiting for the bus. And I see them like torn down, like clothes looking all beat up, no shoes, and the one girl was just asking for some money. And I was like, what's going? Like, I felt something like when I tell you like tingles on my arm, I was like, what's up with these girls? And my friends were sitting there, like just my bougie New York friends, like, nee. And I'm like, I'm gonna go talk to these girls. So I go over, I'm like, what's going on? Are you guys okay? Like, do you need anything? And they're like, no, we're just hungry. I literally walk them over to CVS and I'm like, get whatever you want. I'm gonna buy it for you. It's not a big deal. Let's get you some food. They looked like they were miskept and somebody was really hurting them. And I was like, what's going on? They're like, we have to go and da-da-da-da-da. And I knew something was terribly wrong. I didn't know what it was. But I've always just had a heart for helping people. I think that's just like a pillar of what my parents have always taught me, is to lend a helping hand whenever anybody's in need. You don't know what anybody's going through. And I was fortunate enough to meet this woman who started this organization called Applejack's Ranch. And they're building this ranch out right now in Arizona, where they're going to rehab girls who've gone through sex trafficking through horse rehabilitation. So they're going to work with the animals. They're going to actually teach the girls like tangible skills so that they can have a job when they want to go back out into the workforce, so that they can support themselves. But it's basically a safe place for them to rehab. They may not have families that they can go to. They might not have resources. And the fact that she's building this out was just like, this woman is dedicating her life to this. And I was like, wow. I mean, she's some rich white lady, but but I was like, I got to get involved too. And I was like, and I was like, you need a young Black face in this, and you need somebody who's going to bring girls of color into this, because we're the ones going through it and not always having the resources to deal with this. So it touched my heart meeting those girls. It touched my heart meeting this woman who is doing that, and just knowing that people are having their rights taken from them, which is, it's not to get too deep, but that's your special sacred space, and your sexuality should be a beautiful thing. It should be a beautiful thing that you get to explore. And the fact that it's tainted, like, it upsets me that you're tainting someone's experience, and that, that their body is being violated. So look, if I can help you, I will do my very, very best. And we got to end this stuff, because it's bad what's happening to people out there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's
and then too, there's some crazy stuff when you really think about the world right now. So anything I can do to help, I'm about it.
I love that. And that's, I think, my personal opinion. I think that's why you're having the successes that you are, because when you put out good, you receive good. So when you give authentically, and you really chase those things authentically, things come back to you. So there's a lot on the way to you. I wish you the best with it. I think you're going to do amazing. If it's anything like the resume that you have now, you have a very long way and a lot of things to do to go. So good luck with all of it. Continue staying true to yourself. I think that's the best thing I could say, because this was an amazing interview, and I feel like I really got to know who you are.
Thank you. Well, to have an amazing interview, because we are all just mirrors of one another, I do believe that. It's the energy that you brought, and it's what you brought to the table. So you came at me super authentic, conversational, and honest, and drinking a smoothie. You know what I mean? Like, some interviews. So you really it's the energy you brought. So thank you for bringing that to me. And I agree. Like, we have to stay true. We got it. I think that's the only way to do it, really.
Yes, it's the only way to work.